Here we go. All right, ladies. Hello, and welcome to Lead Up for Women, you guys. I am super excited for us to get started today. We have Leisa Reid with us. She is our guest co-host, and we also have Lisa Song Sutton with us, and you get to learn all about them today. So let's go ahead and get started here. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I am super excited that we are finishing up March. It has been an amazing month of Women History Month. We are here today and are able to do so much that we do as women because of the women in our past that have blazed trails for us. And today it is our responsibility to be blazing those paths for other women that are coming behind us, because one day in the future, they're going to be talking about you and what you've done to impact their lives. So remember that moving into April, which is a beautiful month with Easter and with spring. And I live in Arizona, so the weather's been absolutely gorgeous here. We're hitting the 90s this week. So it's been a wonderful opportunity. And again, I just want to remind all of you, here at Lead Up for Women and on our podcast, Speak Up to Lead Up, this is all about you having the opportunity to share your opinion and for you to be able to speak up about what it is that you believe in, the struggles you've been through in your businesses, and how you've been able to succeed through those, and sharing those stories with other women and our listeners. It really help them to be able to add those tools to their toolbox to be able to be successful in business. And if you would like to be a guest on our podcast, all you have to do is talk to us through email, just info@leadupforwomen.com to apply to be on our podcast, or you can become a member. All of our members have the opportunity to be on our podcast as well to share what they have going on. And talking about our VIP members, today we have Leisa Reid with us. Hi, Lisa. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thanks, Colleen, for having me on the show today.
Oh, well, you're a good friend of mine, and I'm excited that you're here to share with us, because you're all about speaking up. You're all about getting speaking gigs, why it's so important for us to be sharing about who we are on stage, sharing about our passions, impacting others. So, talk to us a little bit about that, Lisa, and what it is that you do.
Yeah, I'm the founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now, and it came about because I saw there was a need for entrepreneurs who wanted to speak to market their business. It was like there's a gap in how do we have this thing inside of our mind that's like, I have a passion, I have to share this, but then how do I actually get onto the stage? And a lot of times people maybe have never had sales training or sales experience, and just some tweaks and strategies and a plan in place can make a world of difference for you to get that message out there. So that's where I really like to help speakers.
Yeah, I know that you're super passionate about it as well. It comes out in just the way that you're speaking to us. So, talk to us about what you have going on today. How do you help speakers? If someone wants to be on a TEDx stage, I know we're going to be talking to Lisa a little bit about that, or someone has a passion, but they're not really quite sure where to find a stage. And stages have changed a little bit, right? Compared to what stages look like pre-pandemic.
Yeah, it's actually really great news if you're listening and you're like, oh, I've always wanted to be a speaker, or that was one of my goals for the year. Honestly, now with virtual speaking engagements, and I'm sure it'll just when we get back to being in person. But I think uh, the really really good news is that now everyone's really used to being on Zoom or WebEx or different virtual platforms. So your boundaries have been lifted, right? It's like you can actually go anywhere. You can speak internationally, you can speak different states, you can speak in different regions with a click of a button. So there's no obstacles that maybe would have kept you from doing that in the past. Oh, now I have to, get on a plane or, have expenses of a hotel or, et cetera, your time, that's washed away. So it's like a perfect time. It's a perfect time to become a speaker. And one of the things that I start with, Colleen, is what I call Get Your Talk Ready to Rock. And it's a boot camp that I offer. It's a part of my academy. It's a one-on-one session. It's a talk. Like, I love that topic because a lot of times it's something inside someone's head. Like they're thinking
Mm.
about what would they say. They're kind of imagining themselves on that stage. And it never, not never, but like it can stay in your head. But if nobody hears that message, your impact is, it's not going to be as strong.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of like, let's put it into a spot, a place where it's on paper, metaphorically speaking, or maybe it's a PowerPoint, whatever that paper looks like for you. And it's put in place. I call it the product on the shelf. Now you have a product on the shelf to say, like, oh, this person has a stage and now I have something to offer. I have something that would be valuable to the audience, and it would also be valuable to build my business. So there's a beautiful reciprocity there.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, there's a formula to creating a really good speech, like Lisa has been on the TEDx stage. And like I said, we'll be talking to her in a few minutes about that. But, there's this, you have a specific amount of time. You want to make sure you're getting to your point, sharing stories, and you're not rambling on. So, what would you say to someone who, really kind of wanted to polish up that talk or start a talk? How can they reach out to you? How could they get in contact with you? How could they schedule time with you? And do they just schedule an initial call with you, or do you recommend that they sign up for an event you have coming up? How would they do that?
Yeah, they can go to getspeakinggigsnow.com.
Mm-hmm.
There you'll find a bunch of resources. There's, 5 top tips to get more speaking gigs. You can sign up for that. Or if you know, like you have a more urgent need and you're like, I actually know that I have a goal to be a speaker, there's an opportunity to book a call with me. I do recommend, when I work closely with people, we usually have a call beforehand so that I can determine where they are and make sure that I'm going to be able to help them. I do have an event. So this is a timely thing. So it may be already over by the time you see this, depending on when you're watching. But if you're watching live, there's an event on getspeakinggigsnow.com/bootcamp. And that is the Get Your Talk Ready to Rock Bootcamp. It's a tuition-free event, which usually it is not. So take advantage. If you're hearing this live, this is one of the benefits of being a Lead Up for Women member, fan, follower. You get opportunities like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll have that information in the description section. I know Lisa will put it in the comment section as well. When is the date of that boot camp?
The date is April 16th. It's a Friday from 9 to 1 Pacific. And we're in 2021 right now, depending on when you listen to this.
Oh, no, this will be live within a week, so they're good to go. They'll absolutely have plenty of time to get this and attend. And for those of you listening, we'll have it right there at your fingertips, and you'll be able to just click on the link. So make sure that we have that link for sure. I want to make sure, Lisa, that I have that link. So put that in the comments section, and I'll make sure that we have that for you to, for all of our listeners to be able to take advantage of this. And if you're a listener out there, definitely go to this workshop if you've been working on your speaking opportunities. In Lead Up for Women, we talk all about exposure. Step into the spotlight to expand your influence. That's what this is all about. And one of the best ways to expand your influence to attract more clients is to get on more stages. Whatever those platforms look like, you need to be seen everywhere. And I know as women, we're not used to standing in the spotlight and saying me, me, me. But if you don't stand in the spotlight and it be about you and your brand, then no one knows who you are, and you're not the known place in town. You're the bankrupt place in town. So
You don't
it's
want that.
okay. It's okay to shout from the mountaintops about yourself, and as women, it's also okay to ask for money for what you're worth, for the impact that you're making on other people's lives. So, Lisa, thank you so much for being with us, and be sure to stay with us throughout the rest of this podcast as well for conversation. So let's talk about Lisa. So, Lisa, this is the first time we're meeting. I'm very excited to be meeting you for the first time because I read your bio and I just couldn't get over the dynamics of the different things in your bio, going from former Miss Nevada's United States and former congressional candidate for Nevada's 4th District, as well as a real estate investor. I was like, wait, I don't even know how to wrap my head around who Lisa is. So, Lisa, I can't wait to understand more about you because did you start in Vegas with a law firm? So you started in
Yes.
law. So you started in law and somehow went all these other directions. So let's talk about that. Why law? Let's talk about why law.
Yeah, so I knew from a pretty early age that I definitely did want to go to grad school. And it was just kind of this joke with my parents and I. They were like, you either have to be a doctor or a lawyer. Those are the two options. And so I chose law and just really stuck with that. Reading and writing is something that comes very innately to me anyway. It's something I enjoy. And so perfect. It goes hand in hand with the skill set that you need for law school and obviously beyond. So that's what I did. And went to college in Arizona, went to law school in Miami, and then moved to Las Vegas and started working in a law firm here back in 2010.
So did you go to ASU, NAU, or U of A?
U of A for undergrad.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got it. We're all ASU in my house. So I needed to find out which university that was. That's a big deal. Okay. So then you have your law firm and you specialize in business litigation, correct? So when you went from you went to law school, you started a law firm. So then you go from that to starting a company called Sin City Cupcakes. Like again, here we go.
Yeah.
We're just bouncing all over the place.
So I was working at a law firm, a mid-sized firm that does business litigation and business bankruptcy. And during the time that I was working there, one of my girlfriends, who's a co-founder with Sin City Cupcakes, Danielle, she called me and she told me she'd been making these alcohol cupcakes. And I was like, that's an amazing idea. I was like, you've got to move to Vegas. Like, I'll help you start the company, you know? And so that's how it got started. It started as this like fun side project with a girlfriend of mine. And I stayed working at the firm for the first 18 months that Sin City Cupcakes was alive, because that's how we funded it. And it took off. It was just perfect for Vegas. You know, this is where people come to overspend, overindulge, buy and do things they're not going to buy and do at home. And so alcohol infused cupcakes just went hand in hand with any tourist coming to visit, you know, conventions, birthday parties, bachelorette parties, name it. And so it was such a wonderful experience. And through that experience, I realized I can have my own company as long as I team up with an operations partner. And so I started replicating that model and just really diversified my business interests.
Now, is Sin City Cupcakes only located in Vegas? Do you have more than one location? Talk us
Yeah,
through
so
that.
we have operations. Our headquarters obviously are here in Vegas. We also have a Sin City Cupcakes Dallas in Texas. And then we have shippable products. So it's not the cupcakes themselves, but they are cake bites and cake jars that are shippable products that we ship nationwide.
Yeah, I feel like New Orleans needs a Sin City Cupcakes.
Right.
I feel like downtown
Nashville, we looked
Nashville.
at Nashville. Yeah, definitely.
These
Yeah.
are definitely the places that people go to, again, like you said, overindulge and
Mhm.
spend a little bit more money than they should for sure. But congratulations on that. That's amazing. So
Thank you. It's a really fun
when
business.
when did the Miss Nevada come in? Was this earlier in the years, later in the
So
years?
this was 2014. So by the time I competed, I had already finished school, right? I was working already. I already had a business. It came about. So my mom is a former Miss Korea, and she called me fall of 2013, and she was like, "Are you competing for Miss Las Vegas?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm kind of busy. Like I just started a company. Like we have stuff going on." And she's like, "You're getting ready to age out." And I was like, ah. So like, you wake up one day, you're aging out of pageantry and modeling. So the way that the pageant systems are set up, at the time that I competed, Miss America, the age cutoff was 24, because I guess, after 24, like if you're not married, like, oh, what, you fall off a cliff, right? So the age cutoff for Miss America was 24, age cutoff for Miss USA was 26, age cutoff for Miss United States was 29. And so I was 28 at the time. I was turning 29 the following year, a couple months from that time. And so that was my last hurrah. That was my last opportunity to get a state title. And so I buckled down and I hired a pageant coach and just got really serious about competing and winning. And I came in as the dark horse. I mean, the girl who was my first runner-up the year that I won was the first runner-up the previous year. So everyone said that like it was her time. She'd put in her dues. Like she knew the director and the director's husband really well. So I definitely came in as a dark horse. I was the oldest contestant because I was 28, turning 29. I was the oldest contestant and I was the shortest contestant. So I had all these like perceived setbacks, and I still won. And it was interview and onstage question are really what carried me through through that experience. And mathematically, I was able to win based on doing really well in interview and on stage question.
I love that you brought that up because it wasn't you. Everything about you, like the odds were against you in Vegas, right? Because you were short and you didn't know people in the industry, uh, and then all of a sudden it was the brains and your experience and your wisdom and the interviews that really got you to the point to become Miss Nevada. And I love that you said that because it's not always about our looks. It's really about who we are and what our experiences are and how you answer, and show up in the moment and your determination as well. And did you grow up in the pageant world with your mother being Miss Korea?
No, not really. I mean, I grew up like fine arts background. Like I had piano lessons and tap dance lessons and flute lessons and that kind of stuff. A lot of extracurricular outside of school, of course. But no, I didn't really grow up with pageantry and modeling until I was an adult. So I competed at Miss Arizona America when I was in college, and I was second runner up then, and then just kind of took a break. And then I modeled all during college and law school. So I was a print model. Obviously, I wasn't runway, but I did print modeling. But no pageantry like during my time with grad school and stuff. It was just print modeling. But even then, that was always like a really just fun part-time gig for me, like a side hustle, right? I had friends in school who were working as bartenders or cocktailing or working in a restaurant or working an office job. My part-time job was getting a chance to model, and living in Florida, I got to travel a lot. We did a lot of shoots down in the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And so it was just this incredible experience that allowed me to meet a ton of people. And actually, that's how I met Danielle. Danielle and I met in the modeling industry a long time ago now and just became friends. And then fast forward, I was living in Vegas, working at the law firm, and she called me and told me about these alcohol cupcakes she was doing.
Yeah, let's anchor that point in about who you meet along the way and how our different paths lead us to the people that we need to meet at certain times in our lives, which could lead to an opportunity later, and why it's so important to foster those relationships. And I love that you mentioned that because fostering those relationships is definitely something that we need to be doing and staying in context. So, how did you get into? You've published some articles. How did you get into writing? We talked about you earlier. I talked about you being on TEDx stage, speaking at local schools. Talk to me about what are the subjects, and tell our listeners what are the subjects that you're most passionate about, because I know you're very passionate about women. Why are you so passionate about women speaking up and taking their seat at the table? I'm a corporate dropout, so I still am, not only taking our seat at the table, but then speaking up when we're in the seat that we're in at the table, right? There's a big, why are you so passionate about that, Lisa? What is it in your life that's driven you to that?
I think just having seen it, in my various, business portfolios or just past work experience, right? So I've always come from male-dominated industries, whether it was law, whether it was real estate, whether it was shipping, whether it was food and beverage. Each of those, there are tons of experiences that we could talk about and tons of little small anecdotes and stories that we could talk about from each of those industries where I've encountered, whether it was some crazy circumstance or getting underestimated or, whatever, name your situation. And so I think it's just so important for women to realize that, we have to take our seat, you know what I mean? Like you have to take it. Like it's so interesting to see because I'm an angel investor as well. And so I'll sit through these pitches and you'll have men who come up and they're so confident, right? And all they have is an idea. All they have is an idea and like maybe a logo. And they're so excited about it. They're so passionate about it. And they have no problem at all asking you for money. And I'll meet women who they already have a concept. Maybe they already have like a prototype product. Maybe they already have something that they already have like 100 subscribers. They already have a proof of concept going and they still talk themselves out of it about how they're not ready. And they're like, no, like, I want to wait till I get to 1,000 subscribers, or, well, I've been working on this and I really want to wait till we have a second iteration of the prototype. And you're like, no, girl, like you're ready. You've been ready. Like you need to realize that like what you're doing is valuable and like you need to be willing to strike because you have this other person here had I not like pulled that out of you and kept asking you questions about like, how many subscribers do you have? What do you know, and I'm hearing all these great answers. Had I not pulled that out of her, right, and kept asking her these questions, I would have never have known. I would have thought maybe she just had another idea too. And so I just think it's so important. Like, we have to speak up and talk about what we're doing and why it's important and ask for help.
I agree. I did a presentation back in 2019 at one of my first events that I had with Lead Up for Women. And we talked about research shows that men will apply for positions, ask for money like you're talking about. If they're 15% qualified, women won't even think about it till they're 85% qualified. So Lisa, what do you think is our responsibility as women, coming from you, to keep nurturing women along the way to be sure of themselves for asking for what it is that they want? What is our part in that? What do you think we can do more of?
I think we have to be really cognizant about how we show up for other women in our circle, right? And we always talk about, supporting other women or women empowerment or whatever, but like, what does that look like in practice? And I mean, that looks like showing up for them and actually supporting them, right? I think there are times when you have like secret haters, right? And they're gonna like clap in your face and applaud for you and like all your stuff on social media. And then like behind the scenes, they're like, oh no, like don't work with them, or, why they'll steer people to other things. And I just think that if we're really going to show up for each other and actually support one another, it has to come from a place of abundance. I find that, people who are jealous or act weird or try to do stuff behind your back, they all have a scarcity mentality. They believe that there's like this finite amount of business out there, and that like if they don't get it, then that means someone else is taking it from them, right? I've always ascribed to the abundance mentality, and that's definitely like the women that I surround myself with, they also do as well. And we believe that there's an infinite number of business out there and connections and different experiences that can be made. And so, when one of us wins, we all win. And I think that that type of mindset is just incredibly important. And you have to be cognizant of that yourself first before you can start showing up and supporting others in a meaningful way.
Absolutely. Lisa, let me ask you the same question. What are you finding that women that you're working with to put their talks together to get on the stage, what are you hearing come from them that is that mindset of scarcity or hesitancy, or really their limiting beliefs?
Well, really similar lines as what Lisa, the other Lisa, was saying, that a lot of times there's a self-doubt that will happen, like, well, I'm not ready yet. I'm working on my talk. I'm still figuring it out. And sometimes I will hear that as a reason not to work with me. I'm like, you don't have to have it figured out. That's what I'm going to help you do. Figure it out. But there's this like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm good enough, or if anyone wants to hear my message, or what if I say it? Or the other mistake I'll hear is, well, I want to see what they want to hear, and then I'll work my talk around that. I'm like, no. I mean, of course you want to consider your audience, but that can't be leading your message. It's like your message comes from your soul, your knowledge, your you-ness. And so I'm a big fan of like, put your stake in the ground. Like, this is my stake in the ground. This is what I stand for. This is what I think people need to hear. This is the solution we can provide. And that's a very empowering place. Like, this is what I speak on. And then of course it can evolve and change and alter that, but you have to put the stake in the ground.
I agree. When we're talking about empowering, like Lisa, you had talked about earlier, when we're talking about empowering women, I see women say that all the time. Lead Up for Women. It's women empowerment. Well, what does that mean? That means lifting other women. That means empowering them is helping them tap into what they already have inside of them and helping them believe in themselves and supporting them along the way. And just like you had said, Lisa, earlier, we have to understand that there is a infinite amount of abundant success and love for all of us out there. And I saw it way too much in corporate America, where it was about judgment and competition, and no one would ever hesitate to throw another one under the bus, instead of the women coming together powerfully and creating more opportunities and positions at the top executive levels. They were fighting each other for the one or two that existed. So it is really our responsibility as women not to just, I think, lead our own businesses and lead in our own lives and not ask permission of others, but show up for ourselves, but also to take someone else by the hand. I call it lead up and leave the ladder down. And Lisa, I love that both of you are doing this in what it is that you're doing and getting out there and assisting and supporting women, especially. I'm called to support women. That's how I feel my calling is. And I hear so many other women are begging and assisting and showing and teaching and guiding, just as you are both doing that for other women to take their seat at the table and then not be afraid to get comfortable in that seat. We talk about male-dominated industries all the time. They were all male-dominated. There's very few industries that aren't male-dominated. And let's look at nursing, right? Very female-dominated, and men have a tough time piercing into that industry. And we need to have the understanding that it really doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. You can really grasp any position and bring what it is that you do best to that position in that business. So. One more question I had for you, Lisa. Liquid and Lace Swimwear, is that another business that you started? Is that something still going?
Yeah, so that's an e-commerce brand. It sells women's swimwear and women's accessories, and we are the official sponsor for the Miss United States of America pageants. And so we were just down in San Antonio in February during the polar vortex for that national pageant, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds great. So you have a lot of businesses that you have started, and thank you so much for, just bravely and being courageous and leading the way, but also being extremely vulnerable to, why it is that you're doing what you're doing and the importance that you feel behind the cause of helping other business women. What would you say is the biggest, what would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned along the way that you utilize in your life every day and teach and educate other women on?
So there's a piece of advice that my parents told me when I was really young, and it just always stuck with me. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I found that to be true in like every sector of my life multiple times over. There's so many factors that we can't control, right? We can't control. There's always going to be someone who's like smarter, prettier, has more this, has more that, like whatever it is, right? And so if you take away all those factors and you look at like what you can control, you have complete 100% control over how much effort you put into a project, right? Your level of work ethic when it comes to your daily job, whether it's your 9 to 5 or your side hustle or whatever it is that you're pursuing, you have complete control over the amount of effort and work that you put into something. And so if you have control over that, then like, why not put in 110% and like really put your best foot forward, because there's always going to be someone who potentially is doing more than you. So like you need to look at what you can control and like outwork everyone.
I agree. Thank you. And I think we're gonna leave it there on that note for sure, because that was a good one. And tell us, Lisa, how can obviously the next time anyone's in Vegas, you should be stopping by Sin City Cupcakes. I just had a friend in Vegas. They're starting to open back up a little bit more. So
Yes, yeah, strip is open, thank goodness.
a little bit more freedom going on there for those of you that need to get away. Obviously, they could go online. You said you had an e-commerce store for liquid and lace swimwear. I'm going to put all your information there at the tip of their fingers. But what is the best way for our female entrepreneur listeners that are listening to you today? What would be the best way for them to reach out to you? Do you have a website that you send most people to?
Yeah, just lisasongsutton.com, and then you can connect with me on social. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at Lisa Song Sutton.
All right, perfect, Lisa. And Lisa, we have two Lisas today, so they're spelled a little bit different. And thank you both for being here. It's been such a pleasure, and I think you couldn't have said it better. We all need to be supporting each other and believing in ourselves and putting in the effort. Your clients are not just going to come knocking on your door. You've got to put in a little bit effort to attract your clients. So again, showing up and getting the exposure and not being afraid to speak up and use your voice and asking for what you want. You have so much uniqueness inside of you. You know, you are the only you that has ever been. You are the only you that will ever be. So how you pioneer your future, it's up to you. You are the magic maker in your business and in your family and in your community. So step into the leadership role that you deserve. You are so worth it. So worth it, and you deserve to be in that role. So thank you, ladies, so much for being with us this week. We're excited next week. We have a couple new guests that we're going to be doing on episode number 105 next week. And again, everyone have a beautiful week. Be you and be strong. We'll see you later. Bye-bye, everybody.